The U.S. Iran conflict is forcing Washington's allies to navigate growing security and energy risks as the Strait of Hormuz remains effectively disrupted. They are under dual pressure as Tehran is threatening further retaliation against Gulf infrastructure, while Washington demands allies join its cause. For more on how the Allied response is taking shape, we turn to our reporter Oh Soo-young, who joins me live in the studio with us. A big welcome, Sooyoung.
Great to be with you, Morgan.
So I was asked, how are American allies responding at this point? It seems as though they're coming with a joint response.
Yes, as you said, it does rather seem that U.S. allies are moving together to jointly respond to this dual dilemma that they have. They're exposed to the shipping and energy fallout from the Strait of Hormuz, but for many reasons it's untenable to send military support to secure the waterway as the US is demanding. On Sunday, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte told Fox News that a group of 22 countries, including South Korea, Japan, the UAE and Bahrain, were now coming together to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And that came after last Friday's joint statement led by Britain, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Japan and Canada, which was later widened to include South Korea and others. The signatories said that they were ready to contribute appropriate efforts to secure passage of the Hormuz and stabilize energy markets. However, they did not commit to any military action or deployment. Mark Rutte himself also didn't make any such declarations. He rather played to an American audience, though. He emphasized the need to secure the Hormuz and the dangers that an Iranian nuclear weapons program would pose. And this is what experts had to say.
Right now, most countries are trying not to appear as though they'll join U.S. military operations. They're aiming for some kind of arrangement with Iran through negotiations to secure safe passage. So statements like this are just enough to signal that they're not all opposed to the U.S. That seems to be the guiding principle and the limit of most countries' actions.
Nations like France, South Korea, and Japan all do not want to become involved in the war with Iran, but they cannot simply refuse the U.S. So they're considering ways to contribute in other ways. This war with Iran doesn't seem to have a clear mandate that can justify the sacrifices made to participate. That is why governments cannot help but be cautious.
Right. So it seems as though they all have a cautious stance regarding this. But what are they actually doing, Sooyoung?
Well, they are taking great steps to manage the situation diplomatically, I would say. It's an incredibly precarious situation where Tehran has threatened retaliation against regional energy infrastructure if its own power facilities are struck, while also warning of wider disruption around the Strait of Hormuz. On Monday, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun spoke with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, urging Tehran to stop strikes on civilians and civilian facilities, and he also called for safe navigation through the strait. And Cho also spoke with his counterparts in the Netherlands, France, Oman and Kuwait over the past 24 hours. Tokyo has always it's also communicated with Tehran about the passage of Japanese-related vessels. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas has also spoken with Araghchi and separately with officials from South Korea, Turkey and Qatar. So what we're seeing here is that US allies or aligned partners, they're really trying to keep those direct lines open with Iran while also consulting with each other as they press for restraint and, of course, the free and safe navigation of vessels along the strait.
Right. So we are now about a month into this current conflict situation. Where do you think things could go now from here?
Well, I would say it's absolutely vital for the allies to maintain this dialogue channel, to maintain this diplomacy, because, well, as much as President Donald Trump has been, politically calling on allies to help out the US in the Strait of Hormuz, it's absolutely politically untenable to actually sell this war to these democratic nations. They're public, especially with this lack of mandate. So what's key going forward is for these allied countries to continue this conversation, to keep those direct channels open with both Washington and Tehran, really pushing them to de-escalate. And going forward in the longer term, I would say it's a huge inflection point for allied countries to really think about their longer term security options. And this is what experts had to say.
Countries in similar circumstances, such as South Korea, Japan, France, Germany, and the UK, should form a security network among themselves. When the U.S. is unable to focus on the Korean Peninsula or on Europe because of Iran or some other issue, it becomes important for countries facing similar challenges to prepare, not a substitute, but some kind of supplementary mechanism for security.
Well, we'll certainly hope for the situation to de-escalate as soon as possible. Thank you so much for your report today.
Thanks so much for having me.